Hello everyone, how are you tonight? So I wanted to this is a video here, it's going to be our newest episode of the Bridging the Gap series, and what I mean by that is we're trying to bridge the gap between the beginner's method and the advanced method of solving 3x3, and in my earlier videos I kind of alluded to training techniques and different ways to divide up the practicing and whatnot into manageable workloads, and I just kind of wanted to go over some of that in more depth. I also have my list of all of the algorithms and suggestions what you can do to make them simpler when you're starting out, and also I have some suggestions on the first few that you might want to learn. So yeah, let's kind of get into this. So what I'm essentially, when you learn the beginner method, mostly when you finish your cube, you could end up with a U-perm, meaning there's three edges on the end of the solve that need to be rotated clockwise or counterclockwise, and that's pretty much the end of the solve. So essentially you know how to solve a U-perm. It would be great if you looked up, I can give you the algorithm right now, but it's great if you look up both U A and UB algorithms, so you know that clockwise and counterclockwise, they're very simple. I'll put them up on the screen, but so for your U-perm, you're going to do an M2 U M U2 M prime, U M2. And see, so I was on a solved cube, so that's going to set up a U-perm. So for me, I'm going to actually now do the opposite, because that's going to, now I want to do, that was going clockwise, so now we're going to go counterclockwise. So M2 U prime, now we're going to do an M like this, and then we're going to do a U2, then we're going to do an M prime, we're going to do an U prime again, and then an M2. And that, when I move at full speed, so you can see that's pretty quick. That does the same thing as your 1 right, 1 left, 5 right, 5 left. That's the way I learned it in the beginner method. It's much faster, but if you can learn that, again, I'll put the algorithm on the screen, you'll really be set, because there's essentially now, if you can learn that algorithm, I'm going to tell you 2 or 3 more that you need to learn, and it can turn pretty much every different ending PLL case into a U-perm. And again, I'm not giving this advice as like a permanent solution. I'm not telling anyone to cut corners. I'm not telling anyone to build bad habits. What I'm telling you is that if you want to learn, and this is what worked for me. I mean, I'm not telling anyone else what to do, but what worked for me was that managing my workload. So finding what algorithms come up, like I said, U-perms, knowing that I can turn almost any PLL into a U-perm. That's a huge bit of knowledge, because I know then I can solve that U-perm and I can get a quicker time. If I'm stuck on an algorithm or a case that I don't know, it's useless. So this is just bridging that gap. This is getting you there. So again, everyone's going to recommend that you know all of the PLLs, OLLs in time, but that's in time. Again, don't rush yourself. Don't push. I mean, you want to push yourself. Don't get me wrong. We always want to push ourselves to be better. But what I'm saying is, don't get so overwhelmed that it's not fun, or it's not, or that you don't want to continue. That's what I'm trying to avoid. I know when I had no one helping or teaching me, just the internet, and I just pulled up all the algorithms and I'm like, let's go. But I just started to realize, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing J perms, T perms, certain cases a lot more than others. G perms you're generally going to see a lot because there's 4 of them. You have your GA, GB, GC, and GD. So when you have one letter that takes up 4 different algorithms or 4 different cases, sorry, I keep mixing those words up, but you're going to get them a lot. It's just a fact. But we're going to learn how you can turn that G perm into that G-perm case into a U-perm very easily, and then from there you can solve it. So if you don't know all of your PLL, we will get there. But for now, find the ones that are most common, learn those ones, and learn how to apply them. And we're going to do that right now. So again, the algorithms we're going to use, I think J and T perms are both very useful. Those you can with those two algorithms, you can pretty much turn almost any PLL into a U-perm. That's just a fact. I've gone through it and done it myself. So again, you want to know your U-perm because that's your ending algorithm. And also an H-perm would be nice. H and Z would be good. They're both ones that rely on M-slice moves if you do it the way I do. There's also other ways if you want to look those up on the internet, but the way I do it is, so H-perms are done M2, U, M2, U2, M2, U, M2. And what that does is it swaps all the edges to, so blue goes to green, orange and red, like so they're just swapped exactly opposite. So the reason this is helpful is if you get to an algorithm or a case that you don't know, you can use this as a quick swaps to in certain cases this is going to swap the algorithm to something that you might know how to solve, like a U perm or something, or a T perm or a J perm. So like I said, those are going to be J, T, and H are going to be ones that are kind of crucial to this whole thing. So we're going to go through those, but using those three algorithms, we're going to learn how to solve every PLL. So let's start going through them. First of all, I want to let you know that A perms are kind of just, I'm going to go right down the alphabet, just FYI. A perms are interesting in the fact that, so one A perm will set up the inverse. So if I do an AB perm, it'll set up the AA perm. If I do an AA perm, it'll set up the AB perm. If you don't know what those mean, just again, pull up a PLL website, anything that gives you your PLL list, and you'll know exactly what I mean, that they're listed by that. It's an A perm with a subset of B or A, giving it a secondary categorization. So again, so that's kind of all over our head at this point. I'm just kind of getting it too into it. But my point is that, again, this is where H perms and stuff are related too. So if you do the same without turning the cube, so you have your 2x2 block, which you would generally do for an A perm, if you just keep it oriented the same way with your headlights on the left, and just do another A perm, you'll notice now we have that same H perm we talked about. So you could, from there, you could just simply do an H perm, but I have a faster method for you. That was not the point. The point is just to recognize what happens when we do these algorithms and if we do them over and again, what's going on with the pieces. We're trying to kind of figure out and track what's going on with the pieces. So let's do it one more time, just to see what happens. And what happens is it actually reverses the case. So if you notice, we had the 2x2 block up here, then we had an H perm. Now we have the AB perm, which has the 2x2 block in the front right, which is the easier solve for me as a right-handed solver. But kind of what my point is though is you can also use an H perm to swap these. So say you got the left-handed one and you're not a good left-handed, again, don't skip steps, you want to still practice that. But say you're in a time situation and you just want to get the solve done, this is a great trick to get you there. Again, you still want to practice the actual right algorithms in your free time. I can't stress that enough. I'm never trying to tell anyone they shouldn't practice all their algs, but I'm just trying to give a little bit of a bridge here. So what my whole point is that, say you get the inverse and it's not the one that you love, you can quickly do an H perm. And now we've reversed. We went from having our 2x2 block on this front to having the back. Again, another H perm. And now we have it back in the front. So again, the point I'm bringing up is that H perms, all they do is swap opposite edges. So again, in a case like that where I didn't like having the left-handed version, I just simply do an H perm to swap it, and I could probably do an H perm and an A perm back to back faster than I can rotate the cube and do the left-handed version of that alg. Again, that's something I need to work on. Don't get me wrong. Again, it's not something that's like, oh, we'll just take the shortcut. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in the meantime, again, in time solves and competitions or whatever, even if you're just, just timing and racing yourself, trying to get better, that's when, you know, you might want to use that as something to lean on for now. So again, that's A-perms, but we're going to go through how to actually solve an A-perm in a much easier way. So A-perms, we're going to go ahead and set it up. So if we do so this is where we need to go ahead and learn our algs, or our 3 algs that are going to take us through this. The J, H, and T perms. So again, if we don't know those, then we'll go through them. But so the H perm, again, it was M2, U, M2, U2, M2, U, M2. Very simple, straightforward. Again, I'll put that on the screen. Really fast once you get into it and get a little practice. So that's our H. Our J perm is going to be R, U, R prime, F prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, R, F, R2, U prime, R prime. I do one last U prime flick to line everything up, but that's not actually a note, but that is it. So that's your J perm. And again, solving it goes pretty quick. It's one of those ones that's really smooth and a lot of people's favorites because of that. It's easy to do. It's really rotationally nice, but that's going to be the ones that's going to help you set up all your U perms. And the last one, so we have our J, our H, and then the last one is T. And T is very similar to J. Again, if you look at these ones, they're written out on the screen, you're going to see the notation is very similar, very close patterns. So we're going to do this. Here it is. R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R2, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, F prime. And what that does is that'll give us swapped corners here and swapped opposite edges here. And so this is a huge one. This T perm, you can change most algs into a U perm with this, and that's going to be a huge part of our list. So that's one that you really want to practice and really want to remember. So there it is. So going right down the alphabet again, the A perm. Sorry, I meant to go through the algs first. This is only fair. Again, you can find them online or anywhere, but I just wanted to at least give you the information so that way you don't have to be jumping other places to find it. Hopefully you have all the information right here that you need. So our A perm, we can now, knowing our algs, we can simply do a J perm and it'll set up a U perm. Sorry, that's probably a lot of perms all in a row, but so all we're gonna do is, if we got this case where we have a 2x2 block in the front right corner, if we got it in the back, you could, like I said, simply do an H perm and it'll put it up here. But that's only if you want to. I mean, you can do this J perm from any, with any orientation and it'll work. So here we go. And now, as you see, we just have 3 edges, 1 solved side and 3 edges, which is a U perm. So now we used a J perm to turn our A perm into a U perm. Again, that may sound confusing, but now if we want to solve this, all we have to do is, and we're done. So again, with knowing just one alg, knowing a J perm, we're now able to know how to solve an A perm, a J perm, and a U perm. Because don't forget, now that you know the J perm, if a J perm comes up, you can solve that as well. Just for record too, that is the JB perm. Again, there's subsets. There's a JA and a JB. One's left, one's right. And that's something I'm going to go over when we get to twos, because the JA is the left-handed one, and I'm not a fan of that one so much, so we'll go over that as well. All right, so that's our A perm. I'm going to leave it right there. If you guys have any questions, please leave it in the comments. I'm going to go through these, just ram through them. And again, if there's any questions or if I need to readdress anything, we will, but just want to kind of get through it for now. So again, our next alg will be our E perm on the alphabet list. E perms, you can use a T perm to set up just another T perm. So here we go. So if you know, oh, sorry, I actually scrambled my cube. But if you know sorry, so here's a G perm. So I took an alg that was, I know the alg, but it's a long, hard one. So again, I turned what would have been a much harder alg into a U perm. Now I can simply do that. Okay, sorry about that. I was trying to read and cube at the same time, and it's too many things. But okay. So now we have an E perm, which is when both sets of corners need to be swapped. Okay, so we have our green and orange, green and red. Those need to be swapped. Blue and orange, blue and red need to be swapped. So we can simply do a T perm, and what that'll leave us is with a T perm. And then so you just do what's called a Y2, where you rotate the cube 2 rotations like that, pretty much to the opposite side. And then you always want your headlights on the left when you're doing a T perm. That's why we rotate. So after we did it, we solved one set of corners essentially, because you solve these corners here and swap the edges. So now we have these ones we need to solve. So again, we'll turn those to this side, do another T perm, and that actually solved the whole cube. So that is one way. I have actually a few ways. There's also, so you can also take your E perm and let's see, and using a J perm, you can turn it into an R perm, and we're going to get to that later, but R perms are another one that you can simply use a T perm to turn into U. So if we go ahead and do a J perm, what that's going to do is it's going to give us an R perm, and again, all you need to know is headlights on the left, do a T perm, and you're left with a U perm. And now it's just done. Okay, so now we're going to move on to F perms. So again, I would recommend the first version of that E perm. I just wanted to bring up there's multiple ways to do all of these. I highlighted my favorites and whatnot, but I sat there and I did every alg from every different orientation, just really decided which one was the best, which are the simplest cases, which are the most user-friendly. So you can do the same once you start getting more familiar with it, but I've kind of done the homework for you at this point. So again, going to F perms, let's see, so F perms, all you have to do is use a J perm to set up the U perm. So we have our F perm where you have a this is one of the only other ones besides a U perm where you're going to have a completely solved side. Most times you're going to see headlights, and that's going to be a big indicator, but this does not have headlights. No matching headlights. It just has a solved side, and this whole block of 2x3 right here is all unsolved, and that's how you identify it. So again, now instead of knowing, okay, you obviously want to learn your F perm algorithm, but if you do that same J perm we've been doing, that now, like the rest, set up a U perm. And again, that's the point of this video. That's going to be most of them are going to get set up into a U perm. That's probably going to get repetitive, but that's the point, is I want it to be easy, and I want you to, again, using only 2 or 3 algs, I want you to be able to get every different case down to a U perm. And so again, so for now, that's going to help your times increase. It's going to increase your confidence. It's going to keep you wanting to increase learning and increase, the expanding your knowledge base. So again, this is not about shortcuts. This is about keeping your confidence up and making this fun, so you're not grinding so hard that you don't want to do it anymore. I've been there. So okay, so that's F perms. Again, you just use a J perm, and it'll take you right to the U perm, and you're solved. Now we're gonna get to G perms. G perms are, like I said, there's 4 of them, so they take up a huge section of the PLLs. And the GA and GC are mirror of each other, and GB and GD are mirror of each other, the algorithms. and if that helps for pattern recognition. But again, you don't have to know any of that right now. What you need to know is that using a T-perm, you can solve any G-perm. Sorry, you can turn any G-perm into a U-perm. Not solve, but it'll turn into a U-perm, then you solve the U-perm. So let's do... So we have our G, so I did a GA perm, and that's going to set up the GB perm. But none of that matters because all we're going to do is keep our headlights on our left, do a T perm, and now we have a U perm. So solved cube. So again, that goes for GA, GB, GC, GD. You can go all of those. It's blanket statement across all of them. I went through and tried it on different ones and whatnot and tried to see if there was different things that worth learning, but it just gave you more confusion. Like you can turn it into multiple different cases. You can turn it into an R perm. You can turn it into an F perm, or sorry, you can turn it into a U perm with an F perm. You can get to an F perm, sorry, with a U perm. It's just, there's a lot of, you can get to a Z perm using a J perm. You can get to an H perm using a J perm. But again, I don't think any of that is as easy as just doing a T perm and putting it into a U perm. So that's my recommendation. All right, and then so now we're at H perm in our alphabet. So this is one that I want you to know, but again, we've gone all over it already. So I'm just going to do an example. We're going to be done with that one because this is one that, again, knowing it is going to help you solve these other cases. But knowing it is also, now you know that algorithm. That's why this is not just a shortcut. You're learning J, H, and T, and U perms. But all of those, you're going to know those now. And when those cases come up, you're just going to be able to solve them. And that's 4 algorithms checked off the list. And there's, some of them have 2 or 3 to each one. So this is going to really help a lot. This is going to start you on the path of learning. And again, don't use this as an internal crutch. Use this as your first stepping stone to learning more. So let's keep going. Our next one is JA. So the J perm we've been using to do all this is JB, and that's the right-handed for me. That's the way I look at it. So if you have the left-handed version, where you have so if I was looking, I would see a single in the, from this, and you would, this is what you would see. So essentially you would turn the 2 by 1 block towards you, and then you do it left-handed. At least that's what I would usually do. I'm still getting better at that. This is something, again, where I'm even learning. I'm having to still grow and get better because my left hand is huge part of my weakness. But one thing you can do is keep it so the 2 block is away from you. Keep the solve side on the left, just like we've been doing. Keep it orientated just the way it was. You don't have to move anything. And all you're going to do is do a T perm, and that's going to set up your U perm. So again, if the J perm that we're using is the JB one, and so that's the right-handed, that's really the really easy one that I feel like is really, really user-friendly. Same with T perms, but to see T perms only, you can do them from either side, but mostly I always do them from the right with the headlights on the left because I'm right-handed. All right, next one we're going to get to is the N perm. And so first I want to say, because N perms are kind of interesting and different, long algorithms to solve, I wanted to show you first that you can just swap them with an H perm. This is just like with the A perm. If you didn't like the case you got, you can literally do an H perm and it'll switch them to the opposite case. So here's our, and that's, see, they get a little bit long. That's the algorithm for the NA perm. So that puts a 2 by block in my front left on the side over here, and then a 2 by in the back right over here. So again, I know that algorithm, but say you didn't and you knew the other one, the NB, you could do, and now I just have to do a Y rotation, but now I have the NB perm. So this is just a little tidbit of information to help you. Like I said, H perms can be useful because they can swap pieces, and it may create a case or a case or an algorithm that you actually know or you're more comfortable with, and that's really what this is all about. So again, we can switch it back if we want. And for the N perms, what I have down here is a J perm will set up another J perm. So this is where you're going to actually get to use your J perm for the solve, which is a really good feeling. So you're going to do from any angle, but I usually again keep the two blocks of the 2x1 blocks on the left and right, and then you're going to do a J perm. And what that's going to do is it's going to set us up with the actual right-handed J perm. So this is facing you. This is the way it would look towards me. You see the 2x1 in your front, and then you see this 2x1 on the side. That's how you know that's the J perm, and this is the JB perm. So again, do one more, cube is solved. So for N perms, you just need to do 2 J perms essentially. Let's see, and that's for the NA perm. But again, you can just swap them. So that was kind of the point of showing you that H perm trick, is that, so if you get the NB perm, and I have a solution here for you, but if you just want to, if it's easier to just quick do an H perm and then do 2 J perms, that might be faster for you, you know, whatever you're comfortable with. So if you get the NB perm, where again, it's, so this is where your 2x1 block will be in your front right, and then your 2x will be in your back left on this one. So it's swapped opposite from the NA. And NB, we're going to use G, we're going to get to G, a G perm, using a J perm. And then we're going to do a T or a J, either one, to make a U perm. So from here, we're going to go ahead and do the J perm. And that, let's see. So we have, now you're going to want to look for your headlights, because it's not necessarily turned or oriented right. For you probably want to line them up with the color. It's probably the easiest way to identify. So now you have those on the left, and now do a J or a T perm. I'm going to stick with J because we've been doing it so much. But again, T, they're almost the same algorithms. The J perm has like 3 moves at the beginning that are moved to the end of the algorithm in the T perm. But the heart of the algorithm is very much the same. So we're going to do a J perm. And now that's set up an H perm. So the difference is, so if you wanted to get that U perm, because the H perm, I promised a U perm. So if you wanted to get that U perm, that means that you want to do the T perm then. So again, holding it the same, 2x blocks on our left and right, we're going to do a J perm. And that's going to set up that G perm we just talked about. And now again, we're going to do a T perm this time, and we're going to get a U perm. I had it written down that you could do either, but I guess J perm sets up an H perm, and T perm sets up the U perm. So there we go. So there's your solve side and your 3 edges that need to be oriented or rotated. So there we go. That's covering both NA and NB perms. So let's see, do I have some notes on N perms here? So you can also turn an NB perm into a T perm with, you can turn it into an A perm with a T perm, and then from there, you can turn it to a U perm with a J perm. So let's go ahead and do that just so you can see what I'm talking about. Sorry, it's really cold. It's Colorado, and it's at night. My hands kind of are locking up, but do my best for you guys. So we're going to do a T perm here. And that's going to set us up with, here it is. There's our A perm. We have our 2x2 block. And this is the AA perm where it's in the front. So again, yes, we're just turning our N perm into an A perm using a T perm. And then from there, now that we have our A perm, we're simply going to do a J perm, and it's going to give us our final U perm. So J perm, and now we have our 3 edges that we finished, our solid side, and there we go. So that's really, I'm not going to go all through every different version of the end perms you can do. I think the ones that end in the U perm, that should be our ideal goal for today. We'll go over more in the future, but I think I'm just going to try and get you down to that U perm stage at this point. Okay, so next would be the R perms. R perms are great because they're a lot like G perms. The algorithms are not easy, but they're a simple T perm will turn them into a U perm. So both RA and RB, just like all the Gs, you can just do a T perm when you see them, and it holds your headlights on the left. So let's set one up. So we have an RA perm, which is going to have these 2 edges switched, these 2 corners switched, and really that's all irrelevant, because what you need to do is do a T perm, and now you have your U perm. So it's that easy, and again, that works for both versions. All right, going on, I don't think you need me to show you. It's just, if you get the other version, just do the same thing. So now we're going to, T perms, this is one we've been using this whole time, but I'm going to go over just an example with you. So again, it's an R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R2, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, F prime. And again, it's going to swap corners and these 2 edges. And that's why it works so well, because so many algs, need a corner swap or whatever. And so it corner swaps without messing up too much else. So that's why it tends to leave things in a U perm. It solves your corners, and then the edges are just what's left. So you could sometimes get a Z perm, and that's why we'll go over that at the very end. That's like the one anomaly, but most of these I have them so it takes you to a U perm, not a Z perm. I did that on purpose. So solving this, so there you go. And then next would be our U perm, going in alphabetical order again, and the U perm we went over. So if you're gonna do, if you want your colors, so we want this orange to move to here. So what we actually want to do is you want to move that orange away from where it's going to go. So we're going to do our double M, and we're going to flick it away, and then we're going to do our M, sorry, it was double M, and then an M, then a U2, then an M prime, and then we're going to do a U prime again, and I use my back finger to flick that, and an M2, and that's going to solve that. So if you want to go the other way, you just do M2 and do a U instead of a U prime. And you have to do it for both this flick and the ending flick. So you'll see what I mean here. So we're going to do M, dun, dun, dun. So now if I did U prime here, see how that doesn't line up my colors right. You have to do a U just like you did in the first. If you do U prime first, you do U prime at the end. If you do U prime in the beginning, U in the beginning, you do U at the end. And so again, it was a solved cube. So now, again, we want to move this green away from the green side. So I'm going to flick with my back finger. And that solves the cube. Okay, so that's taking us all the way through U perms. We're almost done already. So V perms, the best method that I found, it's not as straightforward as some of the other ones, but let's see. So you can use a J perm to get you to an R perm, and then simply just do it. You can do a T perm to take you to the U. That's what I'm probably going to recommend. You can also do a V to an F perm using a J perm, and then F to U or F to H using T. But I think that we're just going to stick with... Actually, we're going to do, I think this is the simplest. I'm reading over my notes here, and this is okay. So I'm going to set up a V perm. So now we have a V perm. It's when you have one corner pretty much looks all solved, and the rest is all all havoc. And you'll notice no headlights. There's no matching colors here. That's one way you notice. If this was here and you had headlights, that would be an A perm. So the way you know it's not is because there's no other matching headlights. So we're going to put the solved corner in the top left here. That's the way I've always done it. That's the way I usually solve. So that's the way I've set this up. But what we're going to do, let's see, it was, I believe, a T perm. Yep. So we're going to use a T perm, and what that's going to do is give us a G perm. It's going to look all kinds of messed up, but we know G perms are easy. All you need to do is another T perm, and it puts you as to a U perm. So we're going to go ahead and do, there we go. So now see, we have headlights. That's how you know this changed. So now we put the headlights matching, and that's all that matters. Put that to the left, do your T perm. And this is where I'm talking about, like, if you're doing a time solve, I won't be explaining all this. You'll just say G perm, do T perm, U perm, go, and like it'll start registering. Again, you still want to learn your algs, but for the time being, it's going to help you really feel more confident in your solves. So yeah, I think that's the best for the G perm. Like I said, you can get to an R perm as well, which again, R and G perms, we do the same thing. We do a T perm to get to the U perm. So either way, it doesn't matter. If you want to know any of these other ones that I'm mentioning, just leave it in the comments. But I know this is a lot of information to take in at once. So that's why it's kind of a long video, and I'm just trying to go through it and put the information out there, and then we'll dial it in as far as you guys have questions later. So now we're just down to Y and then Z perms. Like I said, we'd go over last. So again, I have some other I'm looking at my notes, sorry, for V perms. I do have some other cool solutions, but I think that should be another video when we have like more advanced, because you're gonna have to recognize more different cases. And right now I'm trying to just pretty much give you a simple case to recognize, one or two algorithms to turn it into a U perm, and that's the whole idea. So let's go ahead and switch. And one thing, this is another cool use of the H perm. So one thing to point out is Y perms and V perms, just like others, they can be interchangeable. So if I have a Y perm here and I do an H perm, I now have a V perm. There's your solved corner. The other side's all in a mess. So again, if we do hold this here and do, now we have our V perm back. And V perm, you can tell by this single block. It's the only algorithm or perm that's going to have this single block, and then the other side. So it's like that's why it makes sense that it's the opposite of the V perm. It's, instead of having a full corner solved, you have one block solved, and then the side all messed up. So but going from here, sorry, I just wanted to let you know, this is just also information on how you can manipulate. So say you liked the V perm better, or you like solving V perms better, so now you know how to turn your Y perm into a V perm. And these are all things you just learn by playing around, just tracking where the pieces go, what happens when you do one algorithm into another one. And it just, again, this is all knowledge that you're going to just hopefully store and use in the future. So Y is our last one, but it was before Z. Z I was going to include because some of these, but the solution ended in a Z perm. But again, I decided to not do that. I wanted to keep this as pretty much a U perm tutorial, and then we'll go on to the more advanced solutions on another video. So let's go over Y. It's the last one. So it looks like my favorite that I chose here was Y to J using a T perm, or Y to T using a J perm. Actually, let's do that one. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a J perm, and now we're going to put our headlights. And if you notice, now this is actually what a T perm is just these two corners need to be swapped, and then these two edges. See, this red will go to this side, and this orange will go to this side, and everything will be solved. So now all we do is a T perm, solved. So essentially what we just did, we went, we did a J perm. We did a J perm, and it set up a T-perm, and then we just solved the T-perm. So this is one that didn't end in a U-perm. So like I said, I tried for the most part to have everyone end in a U-perm, but if it doesn't end in a U-perm, it ends in a J or a T-perm on purpose, because now you're going to know those. So you'll know every version of these you will be able to solve now. So that last one, there is a second there's a second option. So so we have our Y perm, and again, this one, the reason I didn't use this one too is it's side dependent. So you have to do a Y rotation to look. So like if I'm facing the green side, I want to turn it to red. And then from there, you're going to go ahead and it's going to set up a J perm using a T perm. So we're going to do a T perm. And then now this is just very satisfying, as we've been using J perms for this whole thing. So now you have a right-handed J perm, and that's still always going to be one of my favorites. I don't blame J perm for using that as his name for his whole his whole channel. But that's it, guys. So that's going from A to Z. We'll do Z real quick here. But that's pretty much how to turn any algorithm or any PLL on the list into a U perm, a T perm, or a J perm. All solvable, all pretty straightforward, all very similar. So real quick, we're going to go through the Z perm just because it will pop up, and I just figured I'd include it. I feel like it's not right to not include one out of all of them. So a Z perm, I'm just going to go through the algorithm with you. This is one too where I'm going to show you how to turn it into a U perm if you do get it. So it's just a M prime. Sorry, I forget to say M prime sometimes because I'm doing M2s a lot. But when you're flicking from the back like this, that is definitely M prime. And when you're pushing or pulling over the top, that's an M. So anyways, you have an M prime, U, M prime, U, sorry, M2, U, M2, U, M, U2, M2, U prime. And that will set up, so these edges need to be swapped, adjacent edges, and these adjacent edges need to be swapped. And again, so this is very close to a U perm. And so what you can do is, if you do a U perm actually, so let's do one. You rotated one edge piece into place, and the others all three rotated into a different place, but you still set up your U perm. So if you get a Z perm, and now you know what a Z perm is, it's when, again, adjacent edges just color swapped, like green and orange, blue and red, just whatever two, it could be any of them, but they just do adjacent edges like that. And again, all you need to do is do a U perm. Like essentially, you just do 2 U perms in a row. You're going to do a U perm, it's going to set up a U perm, and then you just need to know which way it needs to rotate from there. So yeah, I think that's all. That's A through Z right now. Bridging the gap, A through Z. Hopefully that's helpful. Again, this is not meant for anyone to cut corners. I'm sure I'm going to get someone in the comments that says this is not the best idea, but this is how I started learning, and it's helped me learn at a much more exponentially fast rate. I feel like I've learned a lot more in a lot shorter time than I would have if I would have just hammered. It's like I said, it's about keeping it in manageable workloads, but it's also about keeping it fun and exciting. If it's never fun, it's really hard to keep pushing. So this is about getting, like I said, even if you always should learn all the rest of the algs, but even if you just use these for a little bit and you get your confidence up while you're feeling good and you're doing your solves, it's like that's going to drive you to, all right, let's take on those new algs. Let's do those new perms. And I mean, because we still have OLL to cover. We still have, we still have more of PLL to cover. This is just, the introductory first. This is exactly what I explained in the training, my training video, is that you want to take like 3 or 4 algorithms and make that your start. And I just kind of gave you a little bit of a start for you, so you don't have to choose them. I'm telling you, those algorithms will give you a very good start into getting better times, and again, turning maybe PLL cases that you've had a hard time with into something that's more manageable while you continue to learn. So that's the goal here, to continue to learn. Hopefully I've helped you guys do that. This is more for the beginner learning to become more advanced. I understand a lot of you are probably past this, but if you're not, I really hope this helped. This is, like I said, this is what I did, and but again, I kept pushing, and now I know all of my PLL. I know or most of my OLL. I'm not gonna lie, but most of it, and yeah, it's gotten me, it kept me going. So it got me really excited when I would finally nail a solve that I, would have otherwise had to DNF on or something because I didn't know the PLL. It's a good feeling, and if you get quick with your algorithms, then adding one extra algorithm is only going to add a couple seconds. And when you're a beginner, a couple seconds isn't a lot yet. When you get down to your 7 seconds for a 3x3 solve, a couple seconds is a lot. But if you're averaging like a minute, a couple seconds is okay to get the cube solved. So again, just don't be too hard on yourself. Learn at your own pace, make it fun, but keep continuing to push yourself always. That's the best thing I could say, is just always continue to push yourself. And I'm always here if you have any questions. So please leave any questions in the comments, and you guys have a beautiful day. Take care.